Revolving doors save energy and help keep us safe. The revolving door has seen some big changes since it was first invented. These days, revolving doors are made of high-quality materials, and they include newer types of technology. Today's revolving doors have a feature called breakout or breakaway. This allows individual doors to be folded in half so that people can freely flow through. This feature is typically only used during emergencies or to admit very large objects. Modern revolving doors are also an important security measure in airports and prisons. They can be set up to only allow one person entry at a time. They also include technology that can detect metal and radiation. Some can even recognize people's faces. Revolving doors are fun and different, which makes them a great addition to any building with a lot of foot traffic. So the next time you use a revolving door, take a moment to appreciate its special design and what it provides.
Hi everyone, welcome back to day 2 of our article on revolving doors for English for You. I'm Kat.
I'm Chickling.
And yesterday, like I said, we learned about revolving doors and some of their history. Like they were invented by a probably German guy. Sounded like a very German name. And what's special about revolving doors?
Oh, okay. So it's a type of door with 3 or 4 wings that rotate in a circle inside a cylinder. 所以是圆柱状，旋转转转转。
That's right. So they go around kind of like a wheel. Yeah.
And when was it invented? I kind of forgot.
In 1888.
By a person.
Theophilus von Connell.
Yeah,
I remember that. That's a very grand name, so I can't forget it. It's amazing. I love that name. So, yeah, they were invented because, well, nobody knows why he invented them, but they do have a practical use for, like, not letting so much air escape from a building and not making so much noise.
Yeah. 所以到现在说 they're still being used because they can limit the amount of air that escapes from a building.
That's right. So they're still used a lot in skyscrapers, and they've had some changes to them. The article starts out today by saying the revolving door has seen some big changes since it was first invented. So in other words, you don't see the same kind of revolving doors now that you used to.
所以自首次发明以来呢，旋转门其实有一些重大变化了哦。这边有一个 some big changes， 指的就是重大变化的意思。
These days, revolving doors are made of high-quality materials, and they include newer types of technology. So you've got this phrase, these days. These days is kind of like now and around now, like in the modern times. Like if you say these days in relation to 1888, maybe you mean like the last 20, 30 years, maybe the last 10 years, something like that.
所以 these days 就是现今嘛，那 be made of 就是以什么东西制成的，所以比如说 the chairs are made of wood 就是椅子是从木头制成的哦，所以如今呢，旋转门是由很棒的材料制成的，而且是采用了更新的技术。
Right, so they are made of high-quality materials. They include new types of technology. We're about to name one of them. Today's revolving doors have a feature called breakout or breakaway. So breakout or breakaway usually means you can kind of break a part off so that you can use it. And it can be put back later, but you can break it off so that you can access something differently. And yeah, so revolving doors today can do that.
所以今天的旋转门呢，有一个称为 breakout 或者是 breakaway 的功能哦。
This allows individual doors to be folded in half so that people can freely flow through. Right, because revolving doors, usually you can't get through, like once you go into the door and you're going in through to the building, you can't get through the other doors. But if you need to get out very quickly, you know, they can fold the doors in half and then it's just kind of this tube that you go through from the inside to the outside.
对，这边的 fold 就是折叠，所以你可以把这个门折一半哦，就是门可以对折，然后大家就可以自由的进出新的功能。那我们也看到今天的 language in focus， 我们要讲的是连接词 so that 接在主要子句后的用法，我们先赶快来看一下吧。连接词 so that 接在主要子句后面呢，通常就是要来引导 表达目的的从属子句哦，所以它的意思中文有点像是为了怎么样，以便于怎么样的意思。所以我们常常会跟 can 就是 can 跟 could will would 等等这些字一起用。那么 so that 的前方通常不会有逗号哦，那么 that 也可以看我们文章的需求，然后去省略也是 OK， 都没有问题。比如说 Please speak up so that people at the back of the room can hear you。那我们来比较一下，如果今天另外一个词是 so blah 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 that blah blah blah， 如果是这样子，就会变成如此怎么样，以至于怎么样，所以意思不太一样。那这个其中的 so 是副词哦，是来修饰形容词跟副词的。那么 that 就是引导表示结果的副词子句。比如说 Rick was so tired that he hit the sack soon after supper。So
we have these features called breakout or breakaway doors in revolving doors. This feature is typically only used during emergencies or to admit very large objects. That's true, you need to kind of let some big things in that sometimes won't fit between the doors. Or if there's an emergency like a fire and everybody needs to get out of the building, you don't want there to be slow moving doors in the way of that. An emergency, like I just said, is usually dangerous and often unexpected situation that calls for immediate action. So somebody, falls down the stairs and hurts themselves really badly. That's an emergency. Or if there's a fire in your house, or if there's flooding, something like that, that's emergencies. So it's unexpected situations like accidents and things like that. An example, there was an emergency at the office today when one of the workers cut their hand very badly. So that would mean they need to go to the hospital right away. And then you need to admit very large objects. Admit can often mean confess to something like, oh, I lied, I'm sorry. But admit can also mean to let somebody or something enter. So when you need to get into a building or when you want to get into a theater, for example, you show your ticket and they admit you, so they let you in. So to admit means to let something in. So if you need to admit or let in very large objects, you need the doors to go away. An example, please admit the guests into the living room of the house.
好 ，emergency 就是紧急状况哦，所以紧急出口的英文就是 emergency exit。那么如果是急诊室，就是 emergency room， 它就是 ER。所以比如说 ，the teacher rushes her students to the hospital's emergency room。那么另外一个字呢 ，admit， 老师刚刚讲还有准许谁进入的意思，不过他们也有承认的意思哦。通常后面可以加一个 that， 或者是加一个 VING。所以比如说 ，she admitted stealing the money from her employer。
Ooh, that's not good.
Who stole the money?
She did.
Yeah, she did. So, 文章意思是说，这个功能通常是只有在紧急状况或者是有很大的物体要进出的时候才会使用。
All right, so they have breakaway doors. Modern revolving doors are also an important security measure in airports and prisons. So these are places where you have a lot of people coming in and out, and you need to control and make sure that everybody's supposed to be there. That calls for security. Security is things that are done to make people or places safe. It can be things like revolving doors. It can be things like cameras. It can be guards standing there telling you where to go and what to do. So if you've ever been through an airport, if you've gone through security, that's where they scan your luggage and they make you take off your shoes sometimes, and then they, make sure you don't have any weapons on you, something like that. That's security. So another example, there are cameras at different places in the hallway for building security. That means trying to make it safe.
Okay, security 就是安全或保安，所以如果是安全警报，英文就是 security alert。如果是保全呢，就是 security guard。那这个字是来自于 secure 这一个形容词哦，还有牢固的或很安全的意思。比如说 people like to feel secure in their own homes。当然在家里想要感到很安全、安心。那么 measure 就是措施，所以现在的旋转门其实也是机场跟监狱非常重要的安全措施哦。
Right, so they're used as security measures. They can be set up to only allow one person entry at a time. So that's right. So if you have a smaller revolving door, only one person can fit between them at a time, and that means they can control the flow of people. Entry is kind of related to admit because entry is a form of enter. Enter is the noun, enter is the verb, entry is the noun. So entry means the right to enter something and the ability to go inside. So allowing one person entry means allowing one person to go through the revolving doors at a time. An example sentence, there are thousands of students competing for entry into this university. In other words, they're trying to get in at a time. So if you allow one person at a time, that means at one particular moment. So like every few seconds, one person, and then another few seconds, another person. One at a time means one person and no other people.
OK， 所以 entry 呢就是进入，我们常会说 to make one's entry 就是有登场的意思。比如说 she made her entry to the sound of thunderous applause 在雷鸣中的欢迎欢迎在雷鸣中的掌声中登场。好，然后 enter 就是它的动词刚刚 Kat 老师有提到。那么名词呢就是入口，我们刚刚提到出口 exit， 它的 opposite is entrance， OK， 这就是入口。所以 at a time 就是每次，所以现在的旋转门是可以设置一次只可以允许一个人进入，所以就会很安全。
Right, so they are allowing people entry into airports, into prisons. They also include technology that can detect metal and radiation. Some can even recognize people's faces. So they're trying to detect different things. They can detect your face. They can detect metal. They can detect radiation. First, we need to discuss what does detect mean. Detect is to discover or notice the presence of something, usually something that's hidden away or it's hard to see, hard to hear, something like that. The word detective, which is a person who tries to find out a mystery, is related to detect. So when you're trying to detect something, you're trying to discover it. For example, the computer detected a virus, so now it has to clean itself out. And one of the things that these doors can detect is radiation. Radiation is a type of dangerous, powerful energy that's produced by radioactive substances, nuclear reactions. So like, the H-bomb, the A-bomb, or certain metals that are like uranium, things like that, that if you are exposed to them, you can get really, really sick. And you want to make sure that you are not in contact with too much radiation. So these doors can detect radiation.
所以呢 detect 就是测出或查出的意思。那侦探就是 detective. I've always wanted to hire a private detective.
Oh, really?
It's so cool.
What for?
But I don't know. There's nothing for it. But I just
follow somebody.
Yeah,
Gosh.
Something like that. To follow my dog.
Oh my god.
私家侦探 private detective 很厉害。所以你可以说 Laurel hired a private detective in an attempt to find her daughter. 但这个就真的有一个 purpose 啦。刚刚我那个只是乱讲的，他这个是要找女儿。那么 radiation 就是辐射。所以我们可以这些旋转门很厉害哦，它还包括可以检测金属跟辐射的技术，有的甚至可以认出人的脸呢。
Right, so they can detect your face. Ooh, I don't know how I feel about that one. But yeah, it's a different discussion we'll actually have a little bit later. So the article says revolving doors are fun and different. I mean, maybe some people think so, which makes them a great addition to any building with a lot of foot traffic. So they are a great addition to any building with lots of foot traffic. Foot traffic being a lot of people are walking in and out. They are an addition. When something is an addition, it's something more that is included with things that are already there. So it is added on. To add is to make an addition. So that is the noun form of add. So for an example, the strawberries make a nice addition to this cake.
OK. 所以呢 addition 就是增加物或添加物。那么 addition to something 就是某事物的增加物。那我们有一个片语叫做 in addition， 指的就是除了什么之外还有什么。比如说 students choose from optional subjects in addition to the core curriculum。 所以除了核心的课内课程以外，学生们还可以自己选修科目。所以旋转门是非常有趣的，又与众不同，也使得他们成为很多人进进出出建筑物的最佳伙伴。
Right. So the next time you use a revolving door, take a moment to appreciate its special design and what it provides.
所以呢，这边有一个 take a moment to do something， 就是花点时间去做什么。所以下次使用旋转门的时候呢，你们可以想一下我们讲到的这个文章，花点时间去欣赏一下它很厉害的设计啊，跟它很特殊的功能。
Right, so now we've learned all about revolving doors and what they used to be like, what they're like now, what they can do, what they're used for. And I think, yeah, it's a pretty interesting topic. There's a lot more to learn about it than I thought there was. So with that, we have our For You chat question for today. What do you think of doors that can recognize your face? Do you think it's good for security, or does it make you concerned about keeping things private? Talk about it.
Both.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I think it's both.
Yeah, like, because my own door, like to go into my home, I use my fingerprint. But before I got that door, I was thinking, should I get one that can detect my face? I just didn't know why. I kind of felt unsafe. So then I chose the one with the fingerprint.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people, you use your face to unlock your phone or your iPad, sometimes your computer, things like that.
Yeah.
But I also think that there are so many different ways that corporations and the government and whatever else can track us that it's like, if one more thing has my face, what is somebody going to do? What more can they do?
Right.
I almost feel like, if we're out in public, if we have any presence on the internet or if we're using any sort of technology like that, people already have our faces.
I heard in China they have that function.
I
know.
Yeah, they have like these really high definition HD cameras that can see people's faces from like a really long way away. Yeah. There was a camera in Shanghai that I saw that you could zoom in to see people's faces from like way up in the air.
And then all of their information.
Yeah. And so, it's always a discussion that we can keep having because I think people have a right to privacy, but also it's like, I don't know, like how much privacy do we really have even if we want it? Yeah. So it's a complicated topic and you guys can discuss it yourselves. Maybe you have a different answer. So with that, for English for You, I'm Kat.
I'm Chickling.
And we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Vocabulary Review.
Emergency. The teachers are trained to deal with emergencies, such as fires and earthquakes. Admit. Fans who tried to attend the game without tickets were not admitted. Security. Mike put a large gate in front of his house to improve the security of his home. Entry. Everyone in the castle watched the king as he made his entry for the big dinner. Detect. These dogs are specially trained to detect the smell of drugs in people's bags at the airport. Addition. The museum got a few new historical items last year, and visitors enjoyed seeing the additions.
智慧小补帖
Measure. Radiation.